Welcome to the story. We've got a lot to get to on this MLK Day. First, a pair of Oregonians arrested in California, allegedly impersonating firefighters trying to get into the evacuation zone. Plus, Donald Trump's inauguration day dominated airwaves for hours. I went to downtown Portland to get reaction. I also talked with Oregon political leaders from both sides of the aisle to see what this could mean for Oregonians. It's our big story tonight.
The golden age of America begins right now.
In an unprecedented political comeback, today Donald Trump was sworn in as the 47th President of the United States.
From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world.
Very disappointed, disheartened, and demotivated.
A nation that's divided, and you could feel it on the streets of Portland Monday morning.
Today, we're just not really focusing on it. It's just too hard. We've been through this before, and we feel like this go-round, at least for me, I've got to just distance myself from the news.
I'm feeling good. He said a lot, and he did a lot of good stuff when he was in office the 4 years that he was. And we need him to do what he's saying he's going to do.
During a historic indoor inaugural address, President Trump said he would completely and totally reverse the actions from now former President Joe Biden.
Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end.
There's just not much to say, honestly. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what people are thinking.
President Trump overcame impeachments, criminal indictments, and a pair of assassination attempts, and is expected to act quickly on priorities he ran on, including cracking down on immigration, increasing fossil fuel development, and ending diversity and inclusion programs.
And our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free.
And I really trust in Trump to get everything down to a substantial living cost so we can actually live comfortably from here on out.
We caught up with Oregon political leaders from both sides of the aisle in Washington, D.C. tonight.
And we are getting ready to go to one of the many balls that are happening this evening to celebrate this amazing day.
No, I'm not attending any of the parties or balls or anything like that.
Oregon House Republican Representative Vicky Breese-Iverson, alongside the chair of the Oregon Republican Party, Justin Huang, expecting a second Trump presidency will strengthen Oregon's economy.
That he's going to open up some regulations and we're going to be able to get economy started again. Businesses are going to be excited to do business. Hopefully we'll watch some of those businesses stay in Oregon with some of these new Trump administration rules.
I'm a small business owner, and there's so many red tapes getting involved with a lot of small business owners in Oregon. And I look forward to have President Trump have new policies to help our Oregonian small business owners as well.
Oregon Democrat Congresswoman Andrea Salinas believes President Trump's talk of tariffs during his inauguration speech will only make life harder for Oregonians.
He talked a bit about tariffs, and Oregon is a trade-dependent state. So, even though we may have, we have Nike and Columbia and Intel, and oftentimes they rely on different supplies from those countries where it could cost us more as consumers once those extra tariffs get tacked on.
One of his most anticipated executive orders would declare a national emergency at the U.S.-Mexico border as part of a broader effort to stop illegal immigration.
Oh, I think it will be wonderful when he closes that border, which he's actually already started, and we start to see some of those immigrants that have been flowing into Oregon and using our services for Oregonians. We're going to see some of that slow down.
I know that our immigrant communities really work hard in Oregon. They pay taxes, their kids go to school, they work hard to make a good life. And so, but I understand too that we all want our communities to be safe. So I agreed with Trump that we need to crack down on these drug cartels coming across the border.
During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first.
In just the last couple of hours, the president signed some executive orders in the Oval Office, with dozens more to come. So far, they include declaring an emergency at the southern border, pulling the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accord, ending birthright citizenship, which is enshrined in the 14th Amendment, as well as pardoning hundreds of January 6th defendants who Trump referred to today as hostages. And he did this before mentioning both Portland and Seattle. Listen.
We're going to release our great hostages that didn't do, for the most part, they didn't do stuff wrong. You take a look at what went on, and look what happens in other parts of the country. In Portland, where they kill people, they destroy the city, nothing happens to them. In Seattle, where they took over a big chunk of the city, nothing happened. Minneapolis, where they burned down the city, nothing happened. Essentially nothing happened.
Okay, so we know we might be kicking the hornet's nest here, but what are your thoughts on President Trump's second administration? We know there are some strong opinions out there, so send them our way. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090. All right, bringing it back to downtown Portland now, where police officers have been increasing their visibility to prevent any unrest or violent protest. Many will remember what happened the first time President Trump was sworn into office in 2017. Thousands flooded the streets of Portland in protest. Now, we did see some vandalism overnight at the Multnomah County Elections headquarters in southeast Portland. This right here is new surveillance video we just got this afternoon. About 24 windows and 2 doors were broken with rocks. The building was also tagged with graffiti. This happened around 2 this morning. Thankfully, though, nobody was inside at the time.
It indicates or demonstrates what I would consider to be an orchestrated attack on this building. It's about 8 to 10 folks. They were on scene for probably 2 minutes.
Now, there's no denying that a transfer of power between political parties can trickle down to division in our communities. And you might think that's the case for one neighborhood in Milwaukee, full of flags flying in honor of very different political stances. But as Thomas Schultz found, the people living there don't let politics get in the way of being a good neighbor.
If life is full of challenges, talking politics tops the list.
Morning.
Especially with someone you disagree with.
I like my opinion, and I like to advertise it.
To an advertiser, Dan Wagner's Milwaukee Corner house is a gold mine.
And so I have a whole trunk full of flags.
And for years, he's dotted the skyline.
The guy in the Navy showed me how to do this the right way. So that's the bottom.
With his opinion.
And that's the top. This is a good one. There you go.
His neighbors are all too aware of Dan's thoughts.
It is a landmark. I mean, if you're trying to give direction, I was like, do you know the Trump house?
And it's not hard to tell where they stand.
It was important to get that flag up.
Amanda DeMann and her wife added a Black Lives Matter flag a few years ago.
It's not as playful as the Rambo, and not as colorful as like the gay one down the street, but it's still...
It says a lot. It says a lot.
It means a lot to us.
Yeah.
After Amanda saw a young black boy being called racial slurs by a handful of white kids in their neighborhood.
And I was like, absolutely not. Like, it got really parental, and I was like, we don't talk like that around here.
Neighbors heard about the encounter. One reached out.
Dan checks on us a lot. Like, he really is looking out for everybody.
He looks out for everybody.
So, yeah, they're not going to be home right now.
Down his street, too.
Far left, far right, and then somewhere in the middle.
Like Matthew Schuster. A year ago.
Hey, brother. Hey, good morning.
Yeah.
Matthew planted a pro-Palestine flag in his front yard.
Just for me, it got to a point where it's like, I felt I had to. I felt I had to.
Matthews lived in the neighborhood for a couple of years.
I used to be at a point where I couldn't even have a conversation with somebody of a different opinion.
For more than a year, he never spoke to his Trump-supporting neighbor. But over the summer, after an assassination attempt on Trump's life,
he was concerned about my safety.
Matthew spoke to Dan for the first time.
We need to come together. We need to see each other as human beings and not be scared of ideas.
There's nothing wrong with having a different opinion and having a neighbor with a different opinion.
Dan says he's received threats because of his flags. He's warned neighbors they may receive them too.
I think everybody is just so used to seeing with this administration right now, the division, and it's just not like that here.
He's helped me turn the water main off, offered me gas. I've definitely drank beers with him.
To some, beers across the aisle amount to treason. But this
He's funny.
isn't DC.
He's a very good neighbor. He's a really great neighbor.
Yeah, you won't hear me say anything negative about Dan.
Even if a flag of Trump, dressed as Rambo,
He wishes.
waves overhead.
It's our favorite.
In Milwaukee,
I think we could be an example.
Thomas Schultz,
We're still neighbors at the end of the day.
KGW News.
With wildfires still burning in California, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department arrested 2 Oregonians accused of impersonating firefighters as they were driving into an evacuation zone. Devin Haskins is in the newsroom tonight. Okay, Devin, crazy story here. Tell us, how did they get caught?
Well, Blair, turns out another firefighter in California noticed some inaccuracies with the fire truck the pair were seen driving in, especially in the front of the truck. The truck said Roaring River Fire. That's an agency that doesn't even exist. That, among other things, caused the 2 to be arrested after being questioned when they were stopped. Now on Saturday, deputies say Dustin and Jennifer Neal were wearing CAL FIRE t-shirts and had firefighter gear, including helmets and radio, when they were stopped at a checkpoint. The sheriff's office says they bought the fire truck at an auction and even admitted to entering an evacuation zone the day before.
Okay, so Devin, you also found out today that this was not Dustin's first alleged crime that involves fire.
Yeah, that's right. Dustin Neal spent 5 years in jail after pleading guilty to 2 arson charges dating back to 2013 in Woodburn. Tonight, both Dustin and Jenny Neal are still listed on the inmate registry at the LA County Jail. Investigators say they'll present the case to the LA County District Attorney tomorrow.
Crazy. Okay, Devin Haskins in the newsroom tonight. Devin, thank you. Well, coming up next on the story, TikTok is back after a 14-hour blackout over the weekend. But its future is unclear as the deadline for its parent company to sell was extended by 90 days. So where else have users been going in the meantime? Turns out it's another app, also with Chinese ownership, called RedNote. We'll explain what it is and why some are using it to try and send a message to the U.S. government when the story returns. On Friday's show, we took a deep dive on the then impending TikTok ban, which was set to begin on Sunday. But the app went dark Saturday night, coming back online Sunday morning after roughly 14 hours. Here's a couple of notices posted on the app while it was down, and when it came back, praised President Trump's efforts for trying to save the app, despite Mr. Trump not yet being sworn into office. That left some lawmakers, like New York Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, to call the revived app a, quote, propaganda tool for the right.
So, please understand that TikTok's decision to name Trump in the notification is a choice. They are signaling that they are privately collaborating. They have agreed to privately collaborate with Donald Trump and the Trump administration. And for all of those concerns that people were saying that TikTok is going to be used as a propaganda tool by the Chinese, understand they're using it as a propaganda tool for the right.
So that video was made and posted prior to today's inauguration ceremony. So at the time, Mr. Trump had not been given any presidential powers. But either way, the future of TikTok is not certain, despite the 90-day extension that allows it to operate for now. And that led our team to wonder where users might go if, in fact, TikTok is not sold by its Chinese parent company and eventually goes dark. And it turns out there are a few options that have floated to the surface. The first and most obvious is a transition to one of Meta's platforms, particularly Instagram and its Reels feature, which is nearly a carbon copy of TikTok's format. But last week, ahead of the ban, two apps shot up to the top of the free app charts on both Apple's App Store and the Google Play Store. Number 2 is Lemon 8, which is a sister app to TikTok and is owned by TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, meaning it could very well be banned, just like TikTok. But that top app you see there is an interesting one. It's called Red Note. Its Chinese name roughly translates to Little Red Book in English. It's owned by a Shanghai-based company described as a hybrid between TikTok, Instagram, and Pinterest, with many of the same functions that TikTok users have grown to love. The app has existed since 2013, and there is an English version available. Now, some influencers are encouraging their followers to join the app, despite the seemingly identical data concerns when it comes to the Chinese government accessing your personal information. So why would people use it? Some want to simply send a message to the U.S. government to call out the perceived hypocrisy at play when it comes to TikTok, namely trying to ban that app even though some lawmakers use it themselves, as well as the continued political direction of social platforms like X, formerly Twitter, and Meta, which owns Instagram and Facebook. But could Red Note be banned the same way TikTok could be, considering its Chinese ownership? In short, yes. The law forcing the sale of TikTok and its sister apps gives the president the power to designate any country as a foreign adversary and in turn ban software from that country. The ban calls out China as the foreign adversary, opening the door for other China-based apps to face future bans. Although lawmakers who crafted the TikTok ban told the Washington Post it was made specifically to target TikTok and its sister apps. So time will tell. All right, stick with us. We have an extended look at your chilly 7-day forecast. That's when the story returns. Meteorologist Joe Ranieri joins us now. Joe, these early sunsets have been killing a lot of people, but you've got some good news for us.
I do. And Blair, there was a 3-week stretch there going back to November all the way into parts of December where our sunsets were starting right around 4:30. Well, today is the first sunset of the 5 o'clock hour. Last time we saw that, you have to go back to early part of November. So tonight, sunset 5 o'clock. Going into another week on the 27th, we'll be looking at a sunset of 5:10. In 2 weeks, it gets even better at 5:20. And then in 3 weeks, on February 10th, we'll be seeing a sunset at 5:31. So our days are slowly getting a little bit longer. And as we look at the weather headlines over the next few days, we're going to be staying cold. Our weather pattern really doesn't change a whole lot. And when I say we're going to be staying cold, that means overnight lows in the mid to the upper 20s. No watches and warnings because of the cold, but it is going to be chilly throughout the coast, the valley, and especially throughout the Clem River Gorge. And without much of cloud cover overnight, we are going to be seeing more widespread frost over the next couple of mornings. Staying dry, next chance of rain, Blair, doesn't arrive until late Thursday into Friday. Even then, it's going to be relatively light in terms of rainfall amounts. And we basically have been bone dry for the last 7-8 days, and that includes the Oregon Cascades. I'll talk about that in a second. But in terms of temperatures, tomorrow morning, you're going to be looking readings in the upper 20s, low 30s, up and down the I-5 corridor. So, yeah, it's going to be the kind of the time of the year where you want to dress in extra layers as you head the kids out to the bus stop and, of course, recess as well. But again, we're going to be seeing a lot of sunshine. We warm up relatively quick. We'll be topping out with daytime highs in the low 40s, and that's going to be kind of the trend over the next couple of days. So tomorrow, we'll be looking at some temperatures in the afternoon right around the low 40s. Basically, the next 5-6 days are going to be below average temperatures. We should be topping out close to 48. I don't really have a 48 degrees in the long-range forecast. Widespread frost, basically Tuesday, Wednesday, and the Thursday morning, and we stay very cold overnight as well. But again, by the afternoon, lots of sunshine, but very crisp temperatures, thanks in part to this ridge of high pressure that's really not going to be changing much over the next couple of days. Now, this is the time of year, Blair, where we typically see some weather patterns come in and we give maybe a threat of some snow, maybe ice. We haven't had any threat of a winter event here in the metro area or the valley so far this winter, or going back into December as well. As we look at futurecasts, here we are tomorrow afternoon. Some clouds will filter in, high clouds by midday, but again, they melt away pretty quick because we go back to clear skies a good portion of the day tomorrow. And in terms of rain, no rain in sight for Tuesday, Wednesday, and really into Thursday. But come Friday, some models are trying to bring some rain into the metro area. If that happens, it's going to be very light, and it's going to be late Thursday and into early Friday morning. And then we go back to another pattern of, as you guessed it, sunny, dry, and very cool. This is what we've seen so far this month. We kicked off the year with cool temperatures with some good amount of showers. We're sitting about 2 inches of rain for the entire month of January. Going back to last week, we really haven't seen much in terms of measurable amount of rain, and that trend is going to continue heading into the next couple of days. Temperatures this evening are going to be right around the mid 40s. We topped out in the upper 40s for your daytime high, so basically right on average for this time of year, but going into the rest of the week, it's going to be more of a cool weather pattern. And in terms of snowfall, I talked about how there wasn't really a drop of rain in the metro area the last several days, going back to last weekend, and that's going to be the case throughout the Oregon Cascades. The last time you saw some heavy snow was basically 10 days ago, and looking at long-range models, unfortunately, that's not going to be changing. So here's what we can say. It's going to be sunny all week long. What we can't say is when does that really cold Arctic air arrive? What we can say, cool mornings and cool afternoons. That's what we have been seeing. If a valley winter event happens this month, I can guarantee it's not going to happen. So no January weather event like we saw last year. And what we can't say is what could happen in February. But if you look at the last, let's say 5 years or so, February is typically the month where we do see some kind of event. 2 years ago, it was that, Ash Wednesday storm where it happened in the afternoon, snarled traffic for a good portion of the afternoon and evening. We saw basically 9 inches of snow. It's closer to a foot actually by the end of it. And we usually see 4 inches of snow for the entire winter on average. So that was something we could see in February. That's pretty long range to talk about that. But looking at the next couple of days, overnight lows in the upper 20s to low 30s with daytime highs in the mid 40s. And again, like I said, we go back to a similar weather pattern for the last week of January. We'll see a threat of rain come Friday, and then that's gone by Saturday morning, and really by Friday afternoon it's gone. And then we go back to sunny, dry, and cool heading into basically the rest of the month.
I like that. Now where you're standing, if you just move over a little bit, I see 32 degrees and rain. Is that's bad, right? I mean, that has the potential for
Here's
freezing.
The thing. Yeah. but the rainfall amounts are going to be so light. I'm putting in a threat of rain, but I think by the time we go into the Wednesday and Thursday, there's a good chance that rain threat is gone. So don't worry about too much of seeing an event, even though you're seeing those temperatures in the low 30s. One thing I haven't put on my 7-day forecast so far this winter is any drop in snow levels. I haven't done that. No snow level of 500 feet or lower, and I haven't put any snowflakes in the forecast. So hopefully come February, I can do that because I'm ready for a change.
Yeah, me too. Well, thanks so much, Joe. We appreciate it. All right, well, that is the end of our show, folks. Thanks so much for watching. And don't forget, everyone has a story to tell. Remember, you can stream this story on your own schedule. Just download the free KGW Plus app, available now on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. Enjoy the rest of your holiday, and I'll be right back here with you tomorrow night at 6:30.